to another video on my channel once again. My name is Heva and I'm gonna introduce you to a widely used operating system in computers today, which is Linux. So let's dive into the topic. The contents are I'm gonna define the operating system, what is operating system means, and then I'm gonna define Linux, the history of Linux, and the benefits of Linux. So the first topic, I'm going to define operating system. Operating system is the moderator of computer system. So whether we use mobile, personal computers, any electronic device, it's controlled and maintained. The process is maintained by an operating system. It is a software program, main program in the electronic devices that allows you to use applications, and it control hardware resources as well, such as CPU, RAM, memories, and stuff like that. And it belongs to a category of system softwares. We have two categories in software. We have application softwares. These are what we use in daily basis, such as the social media applications or word processor or anything like these applications that we use. And another category is system softwares. These software applications or programs are used to control hardware resources, and they are in the middle, like they connect applications and the hardware resources together to provide efficient use of the resources. The type of operating system differs from one device to another. For example, personal computers mostly use Windows, Linux, and OS X, but mobile devices use Android and iOS. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Linux operating system. As I told you before, that operating system acts as a medium in between application programs that we as users use on a daily basis that can vary from any application such as social media, apps, games, etc. The other end, there is hardware resources such as CPU, RAM, input-output devices, and operating system is in between these two ends that provides scalability and improvement in performance. Like in the early days when operating systems were very simple, they couldn't run multiple applications at the same time. But in today's world, like we can use more than one applications at a time. For example, we play music while using applications or chatting. We think that these applications run at the same time, but they are not. For example, when we are using three applications on our devices, there's some fixed time frames for each applications to be processed by the CPU. Like CPU shifts between one applications to another, but we cannot like detect the gap between these shifts. Like the process are very fast. So let's talk about Linux in details. So Linux is a open source operating system. What we mean by open source, like source means all the files of the software, like of the operating systems. These files are editable and adaptable. Anyone with a programming knowledge can change these files and make a version of the operating systems of their own. Like it's open source, anyone can change it, modify it, make new versions of their own. And kernel, as you can see, is a special software program inside the operating system that is responsible of controlling everything inside the computer, and it operates from the starting the computer until shutting down the computer, and it controls all hardware resources such as input, output, and other processes. Linux was developed and created by a guy named Linus Torvalds, which was a computer science student at that time, and he was working with another operating system before Linux that called Unix, as I'm going to talk about. So while Torvalds was working on the Unix operating system, he suggested some ideas to the moderators of the Unix operating system to imply those ideas on the OS, but they rejected his ideas, so he decided to go to create his own operating system that he did in 1991, and he created the operating system, but he needed some applications to be run on his inventions, so he collaborated with some programmers in MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So they created some applications and made it to run on the Linux kernel. So the early versions of the operating system were complex and were not user friendly. Like it was all consists of commands, and but the newer versions of the Linux became more user friendly with the graphical user interfaces involved, so it makes it easier for people without programming knowledge to use the applications and services. Benefits of using Linux, firstly, is available for free. It doesn't need any payment. You can download it and use it. And another benefit is it's open source. Like people created their own versions from the Linux, like names Ubuntu, Red Hat, and other versions of the Linux. And anyone without a computer background can learn easily, and it has many programs available for it for free to be used on the operating systems, and it's very secure. It's more secure than Windows, and it doesn't need any antivirus to be installed on the operating system. And beside personal computers, Linux can also run on servers. For example, big companies like Facebook and other companies are using Linux for their purposes. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked it, and have a good time.